Hi, and good morning, everyone, here from the Temple of Silence in Finland. I managed to make it back from the United States, and well, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I think that is the reason, uh, well, to everyone. I know it's an American thing, but that's the reason we didn't have our last session on the science of triangles. There were all kinds of full moon and Thanksgiving issues going on there. So now we will resume where we left off. DK still seems to be working quite hard with this great triangle of super constellations, namely Leo, in this case, Ray 1, Pisces, Ray 2, and Capricorn expressing its Ray 3 characteristics, though it has Ray 1 and Ray 7 in there as well. So all of this is subject to a great cosmic law that we call the Law of Mutation. And different cosmic, solar systemic, and planetary centers are changing their associations periodically. So they seem not to have only one function. They have multiple functions, and as they progress and become more vibrant and more fulfilled, they begin to occupy higher centers within a given context. Now, all of that is, I'm afraid, a bit beyond us, but you can see it perhaps in the example of Venus, which to a certain extent, when you look at it through its sixth ray monad, occupies a position of the solar plexus center within our solar logos. But from another perspective, as it grows in its power, it will probably take the place of Jupiter as the heart center in our solar system, and who knows if it will move beyond that. So the more a center progresses, the more planetary, systemic, cosmic responsibility is given to it. Let's see, I just want to welcome you here. I always try to say your names when I can. And Annette, Antoinette, Barbara, Catherine, Gary, Jean-Pierre, Karen, Carrie, Leslie, Marissa, Martha, Nienke, Risto, Tio, Tuya, Tung, Vera, Zenaidi, and Veronica. Welcome to all of you. And Joe and Michael are backing us up on the technical side here. So thank you very much. Now let's just have, the subject is just so deep, we know how to function with our triangles in the method we have been given to align with two other people as soul infusing personalities in the presence of the soul, and to see the energies of light and goodwill suffusing these triangles, passing between the points, and then to hold that kind of sense of energy, and then to say the great invocation. And maybe after you've visualized all of your many triangles, I think it would take you about 2 hours if you try to say the great invocation after every one of your triangles. So that is the normal technique, and very effective and very necessary to help transform the system of squares in the etheric body in a non-sacred planet. And we do have actually a non-sacred planet. The Earth is considered to be a non-sacred planet, though sacred interiorly, which is an interesting idea. Anyway, that's how we work, and the work is simple but deep, and according to the depth of feeling that we experience as we relate to our fellow triangle members, so will be the effectiveness of the work. But now we are studying more the planetary, systemic, and cosmic roots of this whole triangular movement, that which really lies behind what we are doing in a more practical way. So let's just have a little moment of silence for all of us. And we realize that we are standing in the midst of vast passages of energies through what we call space, systemically, planetarily, systemically, cosmically up to a certain point, and probably beyond, though we cannot reckon it. The energies, they're known as the passage of the energies, are revealed in a mountaintop experience, at least up to a certain point, at the third initiation. And DK says the disciple who sees this passage of the energies is astonished, astonished, some word like that, because it's such a beautiful and intricate, interwoven pattern. And we realize that we are attempting to become slowly, ever more conscious of this passage of energies. Here's for instance, a picture of our solar system, and we see how many triangles there really are. Each one of these little black marks is actually a triangle. And there are triangular relationships between the various planets, and a very big one between Uranus, Neptune, and the greater Saturn that holds within its periphery other planets. We have squares, we have triangles, telling us maybe something about the advancement of the various planetary logoi. But within this tremendous system of interrelated energies, we have a place. And we're starting, of course, on a very low and human level. But gradually, as we make our way into higher states of consciousness, we will participate in these larger sendings and receivings, and be useful factors in helping at this time to make our planet sacred. We're not there yet. I have a thought that at the Judgment Day, somewhere in the fifth round, and involving the number 5, and involving a kind of second cosmic initiation, but a kind of fifth systemic initiation, I think our planet will become truly sacred. Meanwhile, we have so many struggles just to have the human race become sufficiently spiritual. So we commit ourselves then to recognize the triangles, to participate in the triangles work, to help to develop this, first to redeem humanity, yes, and bring in the soul energy, and then to help the whole planetary process advance more and more so as we are elevated in our consciousness. Okay. Now, we are actually beginning here around page 435, and the figure that was of interest here shows us not so much the Great Bear, but immediately below the Great Bear, the Leo, Saturn, Shambhala triangle. Whatever else these great centers may mean in terms of astrology, they do send streams of energy into what we call Shambhala, and of course a major triangle, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity. Similarly, the Pisces-Uranus hierarchy triangle, with Uranus occupying an unsuspected place, since it is such a first-ray planet and seventh ray, but it has also so much to do with the rhythm of the heart, and I think we'll gradually be able to understand, maybe according to the rays of Uranus, but I think more according to its function, what it's doing in that second ray triangle. And here's Capricorn, Mercury, and humanity, all of them having a powerful third ray. We're not dealing in this one with the Pleiades, nor are we dealing with Sirius, Little Bear, nor with the Great Bear. We're one step below that. And I'm just going to read this last paragraph as kind of a segue into what we're going to study. Now, these, you have to begin to think in a large way. And you may say, well, what good will that do for me in my normal daily affairs? But as Master Moria has said, irritation being such a great problem among human beings today has an antidote, and we are told to wear away irritation, or imperil, as it is caused, by means of cosmic perception. And that's what Master DK has done. He's opened the door for us into a kind of cosmic perception. And of course, it would be enough planetary, systemic, let alone cosmic, because we are very little beings who understand so far very little of how things are really put together. But this is on its way to the excuse me, larger perception, which wears away imperil, and which prevents that imperil is preventing right human relations, right harmony. So all of these higher studies in which you expand your mind, they have eventually their very practical application. Just think about that for a minute. I mean, here we are, looking at the sky, and there's the Great Bear and blazing Sirius and the Little Bear. Those are two semi-equivalent centers, the Little Bear and Sirius. And the Pleiades, the jewel box, as it's called. At least the major 7 stars there are called the jewel box. Some 410 light years away, and with maybe, hundreds and hundreds of stars in that cluster. Maybe are we counting already into the 800s, something like that? I think it is in a way, the symbol, maybe the actuality of the 1,000-petaled lotus of our local supercosmic deity that we call the one about whom naught may be said, and which DK so frequently references when he's thinking very, very, in very, very large terms. A consideration of a hint earlier given as to the symbolism and significance of the 3 eyes available for man's use will be found illuminating, and their relation to the heart and throat will prove evocative of knowledge. So if you haven't picked it up yet, inside the chat box is that compilation on the eyes. And listed is also the eye of the soul, which actually is not what we might think. What it says here, the eye of the soul, this is a point within the highest head center. This eye of the soul can and does transmit energy to the ajna center and is itself the agent before the 4th initiation of the energy of the spiritual triad. I think we can see how very esoteric this eye of the soul is. This esoteric relationship is only set up when the soul is dominating its instrument, let's say at the 3rd degree, dominating its instrument, the personality, and is bringing all the lower activities upon the physical plane under soul direction. Well, I think by the time we reach that 3rd degree, some of what is said here is true. This compilation here on the eye of the soul, the 3rd eye, the spiritual eye, the eye of Shiva, all of them have slightly different connotations. And they are available here, and it's a 33-page compilation, which maybe sometime we'll have to look at very closely, but here's a little summary. The eye of the soul, the agent of the spiritual triad and will. The 3rd eye, more in the center of the head etherically, is the agent of the soul and love. The right eye, the distributor of Buddhic energy. The left eye, conveyor of pure monastic energy, and when it says pure, I suppose it means within the spiritual triad. And the ajna center, focusing and directing point for all these energies. You can see how much amazing information is found in the book Esoteric Healing, and why that's such an important book academically as well as for the practical healer. So I would suggest that somehow you download this, okay. And it just elaborates how different types of people use these various eyes. And I think we're going to have a very concentrated work upon this. Here's the eye of Shiva involving the monadic aspect. That's quite interesting. It's a whole subject unto itself, but the kind of triangles we're studying at the moment and these 3 great centers, they do relate to these various eyes. And of course, the eye is the means of perception of any type of object, which we eventually discover is ourself after all. Okay. So anyway, so they relate to the heart, the throat, and prove evocative of knowledge, and also they relate to the head center, as we have just seen. They relate to the three centers above referred to, and in their wider connotation, relate the three planetary centers: humanity, hierarchy, and Shambhala. Obviously, humanity, a strong connection with the throat center, the hierarchy with the heart center, and something that we can call the all-seeing eye, found within Shambhala and found within the highest head center. Further back still lies a relation to the cosmic centers of the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades, and we relate them accordingly to these three eyes. I think we can see how we do that. And in between these planetary centers to which I have referred and their distant cosmic archetypes lie three systemic centers, which at this time and under cyclic law, note they may not always be so. That's what I've been trying to say, At the moment, they are so. At the moment, okay, where are we here? At the moment, we have Saturn and Uranus and the Great Bear. I think I'm going to have to get rid of this compilation because it's causing me too much trouble right now. Okay. But anyway, for the moment, Saturn, Uranus, and Mercury within our solar system are the correspondences to the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades, and also below them the correspondences to Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity. Notice all of the triangles on different levels. And so in order to discover what the value of a triangle is, we have to study every center, every point of focus within that triangle. DK gives an important triangle in his meditation 2. It found in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2, Solar Plexus, Heart, and Ajna Center. Well, in order to see what that triangle really is doing, we have to study each of the functions of the centers within the triangle, and then we'll get an idea of what their combination may be. And let's see, it says, concluding, in between these again are to be found a zodiacal triangle of Leo, Pisces, and Capricorn. This we have been studying. Okay, so moving on then. For purposes of our immediate consideration, the following three triangles are to be therefore found, and we just looked at them. It almost seems like, it's coming down to earth a little bit. We can somewhat grasp these triangles because they are so commonly found in astrology. Yeah, I mean, all of us have an idea of what a sign of the zodiac is like, a constellation. We detect the outpouring of certain planetary energies as transits and progressions and directions are made in our chart. And as we study the will and love and intelligence, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity are made clearer and clearer to us. Okay, now have I lost my, I'm not sure I have. Anyway, I'm supposed to have that, and there it is. Okay. Okay, now let's go on and see what we have. In number 24, we've got our numbering finally straight, and last month we ended with 23, and this is 24. Okay. When the significance of this is grasped, the following interesting points will appear. I give them to you for what they are worth to you. And that worth is dependent upon the goal ahead of you and where you stand today in time and space. I suppose we all stand in the same place if we are monadic entities outside of time and space, but we have a certain degree of development as emanations which are making a pilgrimage through the 5 lower planes of Atma, Buddhi, Manas, desire, and etheric physical nature. So, although those who are overly eager about initiation do not receive the occult accolade, and those who are careless about it do not receive the occult accolade of fire, I think it can be said that, and DK seems to bring it forward, that we have to have some kind of fairly accurate sense about what the goal ahead of us may be. Obviously, the masters too have their goals, and while we may learn a little something about them, they are not our goals. We just learn academically, intellectually, something about what faces them. And Master DK also, he's telling us about the cosmic astral plane, about the cosmic mental plane, but let's just say, as he has said, he has not been there. So he knows theoretically and from the very reliable sources what can be found there. Anyway, just think for a moment, think for a moment, what is the real goal, spiritual goal ahead of you as an emanated entity? Well, there's ever so much for us to do over the course of the coming lives, and I think even in the age of Aquarius, we may accomplish much, but not the totality of what we have to accomplish. So, but having some realistic idea of what it is we really have to correct within our nature and cultivate within our nature, this is very useful. And eventually the whole illusion of time and space is dispelled. Now we can think these are very real perceptions, and they are effectively actual to us, but ultimately they are illusions. And so most of what we can do is figure out where we stand in what we normally call time and space. When we experience the 3rd and 4th and 5th initiations, time and space will mean something much different to us. Okay, now, what does it say here? Triangle 3 depicts the interplay of 3 streams of force, which, in this particular world cycle, condition and basically influence ordinary humanity. Forget not that humanity itself constitutes a great center in the life of the planetary logos. So let's just see, maybe we can take a look here at the diagram again, which unfortunately I had to erase. Here it is. And now we go to Esoteric Astrology. Let's see, this is document. Okay. Somehow. Contents, Browse. There we go. Okay, so here in Esoteric Astrology book, interestingly, the third book, Triangle 3 is the one we are focusing upon at this time in time and space and as regards the majority of human beings. So let's see if I can, yeah, here it is. Let's take a look at that particular triangle as DK describes it. And in order to do that properly, I have to copy this, and I'll put it in blue, and there we go. And hopefully, if we want to write something in, we can. Okay, Triangle 3 depicts the interplay of the three streams of force, Capricorn, Mercury, and humanity. Now, we already know that Mercury is a planet tremendously associated with humanity. It is the great monastic planet ultimately, even more so than the monastic nature of Venus, which eventually gives way to the love-wisdom energy. And Mercury is the hierarchical ruler of the level on which the human monads demonstrate. Now, if I can make that clear, I will. Oh, I think I have to make it clear this way. And this is it. So you'll understand that as human monads, this is the level that we are demonstrating on. It is the Buddhic plane. Interestingly, it's also the plane, maybe the lowest plane in which the solar angel remains somewhat intact. The solar angels, the Agnishvatas, the Buddhic plane. That has to be studied. And the great word of the soul is made flesh, emanating from that plane. Notice that Mercury is your planet. The color is yellow for harmony. And Scorpio is the sign of humanity in a very high monadic sense. We call it the human hierarchy, the initiates, the lords of sacrifice. That is the monadic group to which we all belong, and Mercury is very, very powerful in that. So we have, interestingly enough, Capricorn, Mercury, and humanity, even though Capricorn is listed as ruling a hierarchy below that which rules the human monads. Okay, so we get the idea from the Buddhic plane. That's where our real monadic home is found. Now let's see what he says. Forget not that humanity itself constitutes, where is it here? A great center in the life of the planetary logos. Now, what's interesting, sometimes humanity is designated as fulfilling the role of the Ajna center, which later is also ruled by the planet Mercury. So I would say the more advanced humanity, which comprises the new group of world servers and the various types of initiates, they can be associated with the Ajna center of the planetary logos, or at least of Sanat Kumara, but the average humanity with the throat center. Okay, now let's see what is said. Capricorn, astrologically, connotes density, firm foundations, concretization, the mountain of karma that holds down the struggling soul, or, that's very Saturnian, isn't it? Or the mountain of initiation, which must be eventually climbed and surmounted So that's a higher form of Saturn, which gives you the power to climb that mountain of karma until we reach a vision of glorious Venus on the top of the mountain, and eventually a vision of the sun, which stands for the spirit. Of Capricorn, he says, it signifies, therefore, the great force of liberation. Now that's interesting, because normally we think of Uranus and maybe Aquarius as associated with liberation, and that is true, but there's something about this Capricorn energy which rules what is called the law of group progress. That's the fifth law of the soul, the fifth law, and it's also called the law of elevation. So, restudy your Esoteric Psychology 2 books and look at those laws of the soul very carefully, because the first 5 of them really do connect with the what is possible for the human being. Maybe the next 2 laws are strictly for the initiate consciousness. So as we master that which is below, we are simultaneously climbing into the aura of that which is above and becoming liberated beings. The masters of wisdom have mastered the 3 lower subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. They have not yet mastered the cosmic ethers, and that's what allows them to be called masters. Okay, so this Capricorn thing signifies the great force of liberation, which both drives into experience and brings experience to an end. Now, when you see that word drive, you immediately think of the first ray. One of the sentences given for the first ray, of which Capricorn has plenty, is driving forward through space. Driving forward through space, the energy of progress onward. So here we're talking about maybe the first ray quality of Capricorn. Of course, it also has so much to do with intelligence and with order, and the 3rd and the 7th ray. Okay, just excuse me for a second. I'm going to just have a little water here. All right. Maybe it will be possible to speak without the voice splitting up. Okay, so the great force of liberation, which drives into experience downward, but at the same time is so intent on doing it right, according to the law, that those inhibitory experiences of the lower levels are brought to an end, at least from the angle of humanity. So this one is the major stream of force in this particular triangle, and notice again how the law of mutation is operating at this time. So DK seems to be saying that in any triangle, yes, you have a most developed, a middlingly developed, and a most lowly developed point, but at different times, according to the law of mutation and according to the demands of the particular entities affected, different ones of those centers may be in the major position. At this time, Capricorn, which of course is the major entity, is in that position of the major dominating energy. Okay, Mercury. Now, normally you wouldn't necessarily think that Capricorn was associated with Mercury, except, of course, for the fact that, there are decanates connected with every sign of the zodiac. So you have something, you have a division of the sign of the zodiac called Capricorn. Capricorn. You also have Capricorn sub-Taurus. You also have Capricorn sub-Virgo. And both Taurus and Virgo are closely associated with Mercury. Mercury being the ruling and exalted planet in Virgo, and also Mercury being the planet of the Buddha in the sign of the Buddha, which is Taurus. So, for whatever reason, these great beings have gotten together and intricately created a group process among themselves. And that process will give us different relations than the ones we ordinarily learn in ordinary astrology. So Mercury, remember, this is a triangle that's affecting most all of humanity now. We have to be initiated. We have to do our duty. We have to transform our karma and meet and pay our karma. We have to become more and more illumined under Mercury. Now, part of the age of Aquarius that is coming, and you can already feel hints of it, even though it's the middle section of Aquarius, is that tremendous illumined, intuitive mind that comes with Mercury. And by that time, the era of brotherhood connected with Gemini will be beginning. So, it's going to be tough for a while. DK says that we are entering the Aquarian age now, basically for all of humanity, under Saturn, even though some seem to enter under Venus in a specific, particular way. But we're all of us entering under Saturn, and the first parts of the Aquarian age will be difficult. I mean, maybe not, like the song, The Age of Aquarius, where everything is looked at through a Piscean filter of idealism, and that day will come, but not immediately. I mean, even in the Age of Aquarius, in the beginning, we haven't really encountered it yet, but there may be tremendous shortages of water. You look at it, Saturn, lack, Aquarius, the flow of the waters of life, and more concretely, water. People will be fighting over water rights and trying to balance those things fairly. It's already happening. Difficulties between nations, continents, all to be adjusted under the law. All right, that's a little bit of a sidestep. Mercury brings in that quick and intuitive mind which interprets experience. Mercury is the great interpreter, and probably its highest ray is the third ray, monadically with a submonadic ray of number 5. So anyway, it's an interpretive planet, and the faculty of interpretation relating one level to another in an understandable manner belongs to Mercury. That quick and intuitive mind which interprets experience fosters the growth of the intuition, because remember, Mercury rules the transcendental mind as well as the abstract mind and the son of mind and the concrete mind, and another still higher. Okay, so it fosters the growth of the intuition, and man is meant not only to be a thinking being, but a thinking intuitive being, and man is Manus and intuition both. Man is Mercury. So fosters the growth of the intuition and relates the inner spiritual man to the outer human being. The nervous system does that in such a way that their future unity of purpose, plan, and effort is assured. So what could we say? that Mercury is a great integrator of all of the aspects of the human being. That which is above and that which is below are brought into productive relationship. Now, surely we recognize all these things as desirable in the growth of the human being, even though our education so far, and it will improve, does not yet provide the means and methods by which this can happen. But when esotericism and the knowledge of the inner worlds begins to influence our outer education, then in fact we will have these kinds of benevolent integrations. Mercury brings about those changes in mental perception which eventually enable humanity to act as the mediating interpreter. Well, there we are. It's a fourth ray mediating planet, and it rules hierarchically the fourth or mediating Buddhic plane. So that which is above is interpreted to that which is below, and vice versa. The higher kingdoms are related via Mercury, via man, to the lower kingdoms. Okay, an interpreter reveals, this is my own comment, the relationship between the unknown and the known. And according to the law of analogy, if you know one part of the polarity, you can fathom what the lower or the higher part might be, depending upon what you know. So Mercury brings about those changes in mental perception, which eventually enable humanity to act as the mediating interpreter between the higher worlds and the three lower kingdoms in nature. You know, the higher worlds, kingdom of souls, kingdom of planetary lives, kingdom of solar lives, and then the usual animal, vegetable, and mineral. Thus, Mercury, with man in the middle, okay? Thus, Mercury institutes the threefold activity of this center in the body of the heavenly man, which we struggle to perceive and comprehend, and which we regard as forming the three phases of mind. So we are familiar with the idea that three minds unite, and there's more to it. One of my psychology friends really said 5 minds must unite, and when you include the transcendental mind and the maybe nirvanic mind, you see what he's talking about. Okay, so Mercury at least focuses on 3 normal levels: the abstract mind, pure manas. Okay, it is undefiled by concretions to which it may refer. The laws hold good and the concretions vary. So, you know, some of the great scientists, the Einstein type and some of these people, they had a tremendous abstract mind and they could apply it to many hidden things. Then there's the son of mind, the soul, or Manasaputra, as it's called, the mind-born son. Man within the causal body is a kind of Manasaputra. We are, in our next phase of development, supposed to become mind-born sons. We're supposed to become souls in incarnation. We're supposed to realize ourselves as the soul. Now, there'll be more to our realization later, but at least in the beginning, we realize ourselves as souls. And then the concrete mind, or the mental body. Mercury rules all of this. So we have to really, when we study Master Decay, we are really studying someone who is intimately connected with the planet Mercury. He is often called the messenger of the masters. This connects him with Gemini and with Mercury, and he's bringing light from afar, which we could never touch ourselves, and interpreting it to us. So he's helping to blend this particular triangle within our own nature into a oneness. Now, how many of us can say that we have done so? Let me show you a little diagram here. I think it's in, well, okay. I had the better diagram here, and this is, let's see, this is Tuya's diagram, and it is better. And here it is. Whoa. But you see what I mean by the triangle. You're probably familiar with it. And here it is. Now take a look at the triangle that unites the three aspects of mind. Here it is. Concrete mind, son of mind or Manasaputra, and the pure mind or abstract mind. This is what must be brought together until the mind becomes a seamless system, and you can move from one to the other with great ease. Now, in any triangle, there's going to be the initial phases of adjustment where some of the relationships are stronger than the others. I've shown you the picture of Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity before, now, and later. Okay, and you've seen how only later is there a dual and a complete interflow between these points, and you have a kind of seamlessness, okay? Well, that's not the way it is for most people in terms of their thinking process. Just pause for a moment and think of this triangle in your nature. And think about how you think. And which of these 3 points is strongest in your thinking, in your work of thinking? And whether you can flow easily from one to the other. So that eventually, we have this ajna, top of the head, alta, major center, and it's a complete circuit, useful in healing. This magnetic radiance that it produces is useful in healing, and that will be consummated at the 3rd degree. Is this a higher correspondence to that? In a sense, consummated at the 3rd degree? Or are you polarized in one of these and having difficulty with relating any of the others? Anyway, our thinking in relation to these 3 has to be analyzed. The pure mind, pure manas, the loving mind or unitive mind, the second one, and then the concrete mind, which deals with factual objects and limited factors in our field of consciousness. So we need to examine how we think. It's a triangle, right? And their correspondences in substance energy. The right eye, the left eye, and the third eye. Now, he's beginning, I think, from below and away. The abstract mind probably, in this case, is the third eye, the left eye of Manas, and the right eye of the soul. They are used in different ways, and there's an aspect of the soul which is very second ray, and it connects with the right eye. So what I've said here as these are probably not given in order because decay is making us think. Okay. In this particular world cycle, it is Capricorn which is producing the moment of crisis. Now we're in a period that is preparing for the reappearance of the hierarchy and of the Christ. It's not over by any means. It's just really beginning. It's a cycle that's going to last hundreds and hundreds of years into the Aquarian age. So think of that. In this particular world cycle, it is Capricorn which is producing the moment of crisis. Sometimes he gives signs which are particularly crisis-oriented. I recall that Capricorn is one of them. Libra is another, and I forget what the other is, but it is equal to producing crisis. A crisis of initiation, and we all are attempting to pass through that crisis, plus a crisis of destruction related primarily to the mineral kingdom. Well, look at how war is conducted. It is almost like the mineral kingdom is causing great havoc within the human kingdom. They both are related to the number 4, if you count down or count up, paralleled by a crisis of mental perception precipitated by Mercury. So look at all these crises. Destruction, the mineral kingdom, a great object of scientific research, being, as it were, taken apart so we understand what its constituents are and we can identify them. We are, as they say, smashing the atom. Maybe that's not the exactly correct word, but in the particle accelerators, that kind of thing is going on. We're going deep, deep into matter, and the possibility of being destroyed by the forces of matter is looming before humanity if it doesn't bring the love energy in. And a crisis of mental perception, what can that be? That we must not be only concrete in our perception, but we have to have the loving, unitive perception of right human relationship and the great freedom of the mind as it is liberated within the spiritual triad. So this is precipitated by Mercury. Elevation, destruction, and mental perception. Let's get this correct. It is this mental perception plus world participation in the crumbling of the mountain load of karma which heralds the vision. Because if we get this karma out of the way, we can see. And if the karma remains and we remain involved in it rather helplessly, our vision is blocked. So the principle involved here, the clearing of karma, conduces towards the vision and heralds the vision of the new day from the top of the mountain. And the top of the mountain touches the Buddhic plane. The mountain, it's called the mountain whereon form dies. That's one of the names of it. And it reaches to the very height of the mental plane and touches the Buddhic plane. And because of that, we can begin to see in a unitive manner, which is the future destiny of humanity. All right, friends. There's a lot to think about, and we'll carry this on next time. The active intelligence of man, the initiatory activity of Capricorn, and the illumining radiance of Mercury. That'll be our little segue. Matter of fact, I might just read it. Here in pictorial language, I've endeavored to indicate the three streams of energy which meet in the center called humanity, involving, therefore, the active intelligence of man. It's the third ray. It's called active intelligence, latent in the human center. And of course, Mercury is also involved in that, as is the Pleiades, which has a lot of third ray connected with it. The initiatory activity of Capricorn, meaning you are elevated through one point of attention after another, achieving a new mountaintop experience with each ascension. And then the illumining radiance of Mercury, whether through the mind or through the intuition. Okay, so maybe, that is, we'll use that as a segue. This combination of energies produces a triplicity of activity of extreme importance today. So just think about that. Capricorn, Mercury, humanity, extreme importance today. So much of our emotional nature wants to hold us back from developing a true responsiveness to this third triangle, a truly intelligent responsiveness. But I think that in the very mental age of Aquarius, we will prevail on this point. All right. So, whoop, that's not what I want, is it? Although maybe that's the truth. Whoops. I think I see what the problem is. No. Oh, goodness. Let's see. This is it. That's the problem. No. Very, very interesting. There we go. I hope that this will do the job. Yes, it did. All right, so let's bring down, and we haven't done a lot of pages, but the matter is deep. So next time we'll start with number 25. And I always like to do this. It doesn't always spare me from making mistakes, but maybe there'll be fewer mistakes if I do this properly. So, all right, so this today was the end of number 24. Okay, and we started on page 435, and our day actually is the 7th of December, and we are on a certain page. Let's see what it is. Okay. Okay, we're on page 437. Just 2 pages. Well, maybe that's the way occultism is. It just has so many things in it. And the next time, we'll be beginning number 25, and it will be, I think, someone said it was the, Joe?
December 28th.
My goodness, we have all that 3 weeks, huh? 3 weeks. All right. Well, we have many things coming up. Many, many things. As a matter of fact, 28th of December, 437. Just to be practical here for a minute and talk about glamour and triangles, we have a situation where a Brexit vote is coming up. And this vote, however you may see it, is contributing to the fragmentation of one of the favorite projects of Master R, the unification of Europe, along with the unification of the United States. And even the United States, some predict that it could break up into 6 autonomous regions. Obviously, this is not what Master R foresaw. And then when the Tibetan comes along and says that America, or United States in this case, the United Kingdom, and Russia will be three great countries that will determine the future of humanity, we have to understand that harmony and shared vision between them will lead to the positive result and not the kind of irritation, imperil, friction, which we have at the present time. So Tuya and I and friends are starting from 7:30 at night GMT on the 9th, and then on the 10th, starting at 2:30 in the afternoon GMT and going till 10:30 GMT. And then finally on the day of the vote itself, I believe, unless it is delayed, that is Tuesday the 11th. So Monday the 10th from 2:30, Tuesday the 11th from 11:30 in the morning GMT to 7:30 at night GMT. We're going to be having a kind of a vigil, a kind of a opportunity for people to come and tune in on the theme of the Brexit and the unity of Europe, standing for the unity of Europe, assuming that this really is what Master R, as the regent of both Europe and the United States, is trying to achieve. So just use your normal YouTube link that you've been using, whenever we have broadcasts, and you can join us at the exact time, or you can join us at various times during the sustained broadcast, and we'd be very happy to know that we are meditating with you for the cause of unity and not for the cause of fragmentation, so often prompted by selfishness. So please remember, it's coming right up, really. It's this is already the 7th, coming up in 2 days, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, starting quite late, actually, though, on the 9th. And that's, they're debating all week, and then we'll head into that final vote as to whether Theresa May's solution is accepted or not. It looks like it will not be accepted. It looks like the United Kingdom is under great pressure, but we want to add our unitive note to that so that the outcome may be positive in terms of the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. Okay, now, let's see here. There we are. All right. Now, if you have thoughts, questions, statements, whatever, this is our time to do that. And here we have...
Tuya has had her hand raised for quite a while.
Okay, I just haven't been looking at that. And now I will, Tuya, yourself mute. There you go. Go ahead, dear.
Do you hear well?
Yes.
Okay. Again, back to my normal issue and question about Mercury and what he says in the Esoteric Astrology in the end when we have those references about planets and constellations and so forth. He says about Sirius. Sirius was called the dog star. It was the star of Mercury. It's from the page 659, if you try to find it. I will wait when you have been getting the page.
I think I have it.
Yeah, a little bit lower, Michael. Under Sirius. Right, the first sentence. So Sirius was called the dog star. It was the star of Mercury, or Buddha, called the great instructor of mankind. And again, I puzzle with these ideas of what. Oh my God!
Wait a second. We have a problem here. Wait a second. You can't have two things on at the same time.
I know. I'm trying to close it.
Okay, can you be heard? You have two things on at the same time.
Okay, yes, it was the mobile. This is very difficult.
Okay,
sorry.
now you just have one. That's better.
So do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, so the question again. Why Sirius is called the star of Mercury. And when we think about this third triangle, which is obviously related to the third aspect, when we take all of these three triangles, the third aspect and about manifestation, as he says here, or this is by Madame Blavatsky, that Sirius is also called the great instructor of mankind. So through this third triangle pours in something about that which is instructing the mankind, but still I am seeking and searching why it is called the star of Mercury. Can we find from anywhere? We can reason, we have been reasoning this, but I'm still searching some kind of deeper secret why Sirius is called the star of Mercury. And my then second question was about those eyes, right eye, left eye, and third eye. And would it be then Ashna, or can you turn around those eyes? That there is the question of the real third eye, and then there is also the question of the Ashna center. But first, what does it really mean? Sirius is called the star of Mercury.
When it comes to the eyes, I think we have to have a separate study because it's too intricate. Generally, the right eye is having something to do with the astral plane, with the soul, and with the Buddhic plane, and the left eye is having to do with various aspects of manas. But that's not enough to say. We have to look at the intricate relations between them, and I think we'll have to have a separate study on that, because just to plunge into it, I think we will make errors. Now, when it comes to first of all, I don't know if the Tibetan has given anything further. Okay, I'm not sure he has.
I haven't found.
No, but what I think, but here's something to be taught. You know, Sirius is a great instructor in terms of initiation for humanity. Mercury, on a much lower level, carries some of the same rays to humanity. Mercury is so much associated with the number 5. Now, this is just reasoning, okay? This is not anything the Tibetan has said. But Mercury is associated with the number 5 monadically, and with the number 3 on a still higher basis. But Sirius has a soul ray associated with the number 5. Both of them are tremendous illuminators, and they definitely go forth to bring some higher form of light to the solar system, the planet, and in the case of Mercury, to the planet and to man. So you can see the relationship between them in terms of the number 4, which is linking, and the 4th path is to Sirius, and the 4th ray is the soul ray of Mercury, and the number 5, the soul ray of Sirius, and the monadic, submonadic ray of Mercury. They have similar functions, bringing from above to below a great illumination and allowing a conversation to occur from below to above. Now, as you said, this is just reasoning. But on the other hand, does the Tibetan say more about it? Not that I have seen. But they both are instructors. Master DK is a tremendous instructor, and he's known as Mercury, and or Gemini from that point of view. And Gemini is the constellation to which both Sirius and Mercury are related in different ways. So there's a lot of connections here in terms of bringing the light. I think that's all I can say. I know you're looking for very deep matters on this.
Yes, it has been bothered me for, I don't know, maybe 10 years already, and I am not finding some kind of answer what satisfies me. I was just thinking if the higher triangles into which Sirius is related to, if we try to find the correspondence to the same level that Mercury is related to this triangle, what kind of triangle would be in relationship to Sirius then?
Well, of course,
where Sirius would form like the aspect of Mercury.
Well,
or not aspect of Mercury, but the same correspondence in that higher triangle.
Well, we're given one where Sirius is in the middle, emphasizing its second ray ultimate monad and its sixth ray submonad, but we're not given a connection where Sirius is representing the third aspect of divinity in another triangle. Now, maybe the little bear and Sirius are both part of that particular triangle, whatever the third point might be. But you're quite right. Sirius is two things. Sirius is like the peak of Manas as far as our solar system is concerned, but it is also deeply, deeply related to Venus in the sense that it has the same rays and is involved with love, wisdom, and is a cosmic Christ as well as a brilliantly illumined Manas. So if we look at the monadic ray of Sirius, the second ray, the highest, and the submonadic ray, the sixth ray, and then the soul, the fifth ray, it's exactly the same as Venus, at least in my calculations. So I don't know the triangle in which Sirius is specifically the monastic point. But it's possible. It's possible that the Pleiades, the little bear, and Venus or Sirius are in some way connected in that they all have very powerful manas. So you're looking probably, as Master K.H. used to say to his student Sinnott, he said, "Look, you've just asked a question that is solved at the sixth initiation. I cannot answer at this time." Okay.
Well, but if anyone have any hints for me, please send, because I honestly have been trying to find some deeper meaning for that.
Yeah, okay.
The star of Mercury. Right. Thank you.
Right. Very good. Okay. Other thoughts and questions? I know this material goes deep, and you have to have some knowledge of planetary centers, which you can gain, some knowledge of astrology and the rays of the planets, some idea of the function of our solar logos, and then you have to relate it to matters that are even higher than that, the three great constellations. So this is a real mental, intuitive workout, and we all need it, actually. Okay, so I'm looking for your, so Tuya has asked an unanswerable question. What's the next unanswerable question? Anything that you would like to say? Or is it just too daunting, Just look at it. Tell you what, friends, memorize the planets. I think I'm talking to people who have memorized the planets memorize what they rule from the orthodox, esoteric, and hierarchical perspective, and memorize at least the ray that DK gives to the planet. But, just as if you were studying, what DK uses this example. He says, look, if you were studying chemistry in the university, you would have a textbook. Is the material that I'm giving you right now really harder than what you would find in that textbook on chemistry? And he says, I don't think so. They both require a certain amount of concrete memorization. And then once you have these things memorized, you can begin to see the patterns of significance. They will begin to really appear before your eyes. So take a little time. I know it's not always the most pleasant work. Take a little time and try to do that. Okay. Michael or Joe, is there anybody here that has something they want to say or ask? Okay, Walter. Found him. Okay. Oh, happy new moon. Okay, indeed. All right, let's see, where is everything right now? I'm going to do this, Walter. You always remind us of these things, and I'm grateful. Now, is it going to allow me to do this? Yes, it is. Okay, so, and indeed it is. Indeed it is. So we have actually just moved from the exact new moon, and we're still very much within orb, 15 degrees of Sagittarius, the 16th degree and the 20th degree of the moon. And remember, when it comes to Sagittarius, the long distant vision, the high and embracing vision of many interrelations are revealed in Sagittarius. Now, can we actually get there? That's another question. That requires Capricorn. But at least to see it is Sagittarius, and so philosophically, we are on the mark. Okay. Right. Thank you, Walter, for that. Any other statements?
I am not seeing anyone else with hand raised.
Here's Anne Veronica. I saw one, and Anne Veronica. Now, yes. Hello, you can speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You were talking about Capricorn as being a sign of crisis. Now, I was thinking in the books, Dina 2, he was talking to a disciple, and he was talking about inhalation, where we focus, interlude, where is the point of tension, exhalation, where is the point of crisis, and interlude, where is recognition. Could we see the zodiac signs that way?
Do you have the page, Anne Veronica?
Yes, it's page 452 on the Dina book number 2.
Okay, is it Esoteric Astrology book?
Dina number 2.
Oh, Dina 2. Okay.
Dina book.
Okay, and it is page 400 and go ahead, 59?
452. 452.
Okay, good.
About the end.
All right. Okay.
He's giving.
I see what you mean. Yes, exhalation crisis. Now look, Capricorn is not the only sign of crisis. Okay? There is something about exhalation which relates to manifestation, and whenever you try to take an interior relationship of subtle energy and magically impress it upon lower energies, you will have a crisis of resistance, okay? And so therefore you could talk about Capricorn in relation to that phase. However, it's also related to the law of elevation, which is the esoteric name for the fifth law of the soul. And, it has a lot to do as well with holding something in form. And so maybe we could even look at the entire process as Capricornian in a certain regard. I'd like to point something out if I can find it. Maybe it's on page 473 or 273, I don't remember. Let's see, 473. Oh, no, that's Dinah. I don't want Dinah. I want this. Okay, let's see what we've got here. And you'll see something very interesting if I can only get the page. Okay, so it's not that one. Not that one, no. This is a whole different thing. Now, okay, I'm going to look at another page and hope that it comes in around 272 or thereabouts. Okay, now it's not doing that for me, so I'm going to try another method, and that is Gemini crucifixion. Okay, and there's one, and here it is. Notice, and Veronica, how many different kinds of crises there are. Capricorn ruling just one of them. Okay, these are the crises of the soul, and page 472, I was very close. And I think, each one of these has to be studied in terms of the kind of crisis it brings. The general crisis of initiation is ruled by Capricorn, but there are higher forms of crisis ruled by Leo, liberation. Let's see, I think that the second highest type of crisis here is Capricornian, but the highest type is Leonian. So every one of these, individualization, reversal, and that should involve also Libra, expansion, which is interesting considering that Capricorn is the sign of concretion as well. Okay, crucifixion, yes, that one is a little higher than Capricorn, ruled by Gemini. How interesting. And then the second degree battlefield, where we're fighting with the Hydra, Scorpio, especially the emotional plane. Initiation in general, being born into the first degree, and that involves Capricorn as well. And finally, the final burning ground of Leo. So when it comes to crises, all these have to be studied. Now I'm going to try one more thing. Libra, Capricorn, crisis. And I think what I'll be able to find here, if I can get there, here it is. Yeah, I had left out a sign earlier. And here are the three signs particularly associated with crisis, and they precede the kinds of initiatory experiences of Capricorn. The crisis of individualization is Leonian, but it's also the crisis of the final liberation into mastership. The crisis of balance, where you're trying to turn the wheel in a new direction, is Libran, and also with Aries. And finally, all these different steps, 5 steps in the crisis of initiation, Capricorn. So put together page 265 and 266 and page 472 in order to determine which might be the most appropriate sign when it comes to that exhalation and the 4 steps of the breath, the creative breath process. I think that's all I could say. It's a deep matter, but we don't only want to think of Capricorn as the only crisis sign. There are 7 others, and they are all related to different types of phases. Now, when it comes to, as I said, when it comes to manifestation, Capricorn is involved, and exhalation is related to manifestation, the breathing forth from a higher level into a lower level, so that the higher pattern is represented in the lower. Capricorn can force the issue and create crisis. So I think you're right in that respect. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I would like to ask, because I'm at the first pages of Esoteric Astrology. He talks about 4 deaths, and he says it's not known to us about the 4th death, which is death by air. Does he say anywhere in Esoteric Astrology about what sign is the death through air?
No, he really doesn't. But it is death through a kind of dispersion. Or, the air is God. If you read in Dyna 2, the very first formula, you will see that the air is God. It's the Buddhic plane. And it's the death of the lower type of confined consciousness through pervasion and distribution. He doesn't talk about it. Now, we know that hurricanes and tornadoes, they have this negative impact, and it's said that when we work against God's law, we will reap the whirlwind. In other words, the finger of God will come and touch and destroy and blow us apart. So that's a kind of death by air. On the other hand, it is possible to become so pervasive that we die to the lower forms of compact consciousness, where we say, I am this person, I'm right here in time and space, this is who I am, and that is shown to be something other. That in fact we are an all-pervasive something, being, and that to me is the explanation of the air is God, found in the first formula in Dyna 2. So he doesn't elaborate on it any further, and he says it's not with us yet, but maybe, because we are entering the age of Aquarius, in which both Gemini and Libra, all the air signs will be very powerful. We shall know something more about what is meant by the death by air. He does say that the air elementals are among the most, she says, Blavatsky, the most wicked of all the elementals. So, there's a lot of turbulence that can fragment people via the air, and that's a kind of death. But we're talking about a higher form of death, I believe. Okay. All right.
Am I allowed one more question?
Yeah. Do you have any 5th ray, Anne Veronica? Okay, go ahead.
A lot of 5th ray, which is causing, I think, a lot of problems.
Okay.
He speaks that in Aries, it's the idea of becoming born. And then we go to Taurus, where we get our astral body. Then we go to Gemini, where we get our sentient body.
Etheric body.
Etheric body.
In that progression is the etheric body. Mm-hmm.
Now, I looked up these signs, and I saw that all these 4 signs that he's saying, and he's giving a progression from going down, from up going down, they are the 4 signs of the 4 of the 5 hierarchies that are out of our cosmic plane.
Out of our range, right? They belong up on the cosmic astral plane. 4 of the 5, correct?
Yes, 4 of the 5.
Plus Pisces at the very top of it all. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I wanted to ask. They are on the astral plane now.
Cosmic astral. Cosmic.
On the cosmic, yes, on the cosmic astral plane.
Yes.
Because somewhere he says they're on the plane of the mind, and he doesn't explain where.
Well, here's my view. You can relate any sign of the zodiac to any plane or subplane and find a convincing relationship. So, all of these that you're speaking of, let's just look at it this way. Aries, the birthplace of new ideas, the birthplace of ideas. Taurus, the illumination of the mind. Gemini, the flexibility and inquiring nature of the mind. Cancer, the lord of memory. You can find a way to relate any plane and its major powers to any sign of the zodiac. And if you want to get into my book on the egoic lotus, I kind of do that, petal by petal, relating the different signs of the zodiac, all of them, to every petal unfoldment. So, you can localize it the way he might do it occasionally, or you can spread it out over the whole range of areas that you are going to be studying. Anyway, if you can find that other reference about how they're related to the plane of mind, I don't doubt it for a minute. At the same time, there are higher aspects to every lord of a constellation. Now, if we can function etherically, then a lord of a constellation way up there on the cosmic monadic and cosmic atmic can function etherically and physically too on the cosmic physical plane. So these great lords have different points of focus on the different cosmic planes and subplanes, and we don't know all of them by any means. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you and good morning.
Okay, and good morning to you. Okay, friends, is there anything else before we, now Tuya, I don't know, would you like to do a little triangles roundup here if I can find the, wait, are you there? Yeah. If I can find the images.
Okay, I have to change my position because I am just beside the dogs.
Okay. You understand we have very vocal dogs, and especially the dog who's born in Taurus is a great interrupter of webinars. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, but let's just see. Are there any other questions from anybody else? Any other thoughts? Anything that you want to get further into? Okay. Oh, wait a second. The new moon is perfectly exact at this minute. Maybe I'm looking at the time for here in Europe. Of course, it's always exact, it doesn't make any difference where you are. The new moon is the new moon, So I'll just take your word for it, Walter. We're in it, and it's in Sagittarius, and we're expanding our mind and our intuition. Now, let me just see what I can do. I want to give you all an endurance medal, how you managed to live through all of this. Rather abstract considerations. But remember, if you are a member of the sixth subrace of the fifth root race, and all really progressive students are supposed to be anticipating that sixth subrace of the fifth root race, then you are really cultivating the abstract mind. And it's not easy to cultivate, okay? So work in this third ray department of astrology and this third ray department of triangles, where we deal with the atmic plane, particularly, whose symbol is the triangle, and whose ray is the third as well as the first. We are learning to cultivate the abstract mind. It may not always be pleasant, but that is what we are doing. Okay. Now, if I can find here anything, hold on to you.
Barbara, I have it here.
You have it. Okay, you'll be the one then.
You.
Okay, you'll be the one. Okay, so we'll have a little brief meditation on just triangles. Okay, so here we go, and all I got to do to you is make you the person.
Oh,
It's going
or
to
do
be
you mean that
it's going to
do you mean
be
that I would?
your screen, or don't you want that? I can find it right here.
Okay, I have it. Yes, I'm not quite sure.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, is it ready? What is that sound?
My mouse.
Oh, okay. Okay, now you are the presenter, and you can have, as soon as you show your screen, we can just use some of those images. Some of those images. You don't need the.
Oh no, I am not having that one.
Oh, you don't have the
Oh.
images. Okay, I'll get the images.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll get the images, and I'll make myself.
Well, while we are hassling here, please, everyone, just start to tune in and find your center.
Okay, and I'm just about there, friends. Excuse me, Tuya and I did not quite straighten out who would be doing this, so I'm trying to. Is that PowerPoint? And there's some very strange thing, background noise there.
I cannot help now.
We got to get rid of that.
I don't know what it is.
Okay. I'm really hoping that my PowerPoint will do this. Okay. Where would you like to begin?
Just the triangle image. Triangle higher up. Higher up. Yeah, the light actually. Where you see the light. Go lower. Number 13, I think so. No, 14.
Okay. Very good. And I'm trying to. I'm sorry. I've got to. There we go. Okay.
Okay, we start to form a triangle of light within ourselves, which is said by DK to do that prior every morning meditation. And that is formed by connecting with our soul, with our head center, and with Master DK. Hold that firmly in your consciousness. We see that as a solid light of the triangle as solid light. And the base of the triangle touching the mental plane, where Master DK works and where our soul works as well. And now the lower apex touching our top of our heads. Now see pouring down via the triangle a stream of light, golden in color or light orange. That energy floods your whole body. Try to visualize that as perfectly as possible. And then when it is done, then rest back in that light and bathe in it as you would bathe in the waters of the sea. See it permeating every part of your physical equipment. We do that without having any definite ideas as to what should be accomplished. The Rest of the activity is in the hands of the Master DK, and you can safely leave it to him. This exercise will aid you in handling your life problem and your service until such time as you enter into that light wherein consciousness awakens free from the bonds of flesh. The blessing of your co-disciples is upon you and yours on them. And we hold the consciousness steadily in the mind and not just in the head. And contact the spiritual triplicity, which is that which hovers over the square and radiates the energy of light into this waiting field of active thought. We focus on our own triangles and start with the premise that energy follows thought. Call now upon your triangle group members by name and with love, and let us have about 2 minutes silence to do that. So sound the names silently or aloud. And let us now link our triangles with the global network of golden triangles. We realize that the network of triangles is under the eye of the great Shambhalic triangle, the 3 Buddhas of activity in Shambhala. These great Buddhas can energize the triangle's network for protective purposes if a time of emergency appears in humanity or on our planet. And realize what this fact means for yourself and for your triangle work. Within your mind, see your triangles related with the network of global triangles, and then with the 3 Buddhas of activity in Shambhala. Triangle work is related to the coming science of invocation. And in our triangles we rehearse that, and we are supposed to use the great invocation every day. So let us do that with the deep thought and realization what we are actually invoking. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. We see the global network of golden triangles covering the entire planet. Endeavor to realize this factual nature of this great living spiritual organism, which constantly substance and underlies the world affairs. See it as a growing, vital reality of such life and potency that it can break through or break up all limiting outer cleavages, and by the very force of its interior life, eventually externalize itself. We visualize at least 100,000 living triangles functioning within the square-like etheric body of Earth, transmuting it into triangles. And we try to see Earth as a sacred planet and humanity redeemed. Responding to all the time strengthened energies and vibrations of the Christ. Let us sound the sacred word Om 3 times. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuya, and thank you, everyone. This will bring our program to an end. And remember that if the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia are to help guide humanity into the new age, the plans of the Master must be fulfilled. If you want to join us, Sunday night at 7:30 GMT, Monday at 2:30 p.m. GMT, and Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. GMT, we'll be offering that meditative opportunity. Meanwhile,
Michael.
yes, Tuya?
Yeah, it is. Yes, so we have a global silence moment, which is within this great whole day continuous meditation. So one can come in and out as one wishes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we are going through that, but then we have this global silent moment, and was that at 5 p.m.
5
GMT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but naturally you won't be able to do that at 5 on the first day because we're starting at 7:30 p.m. GMT. But on the other days we can. Okay.
Yes, that is the webinar, and the others are broadcasts. And then we have a new initiative, and if any one of you would like to participate in it, we will send the instructions. But the idea is that next year is the New Global Servers Week, and we want to and try to strengthen our groups all around the planet. And we have this kind of 10-minute silence on every Thursdays before the 5 o'clock mantra. Mm-hmm. Very simple. You can have a shorter moment of silence if you wish, but like 10 minutes, we have the group field open, and it goes via every time zone at 4:50 p.m. GMT.
Yes, in your time zone.
No, not GMT. I mean that in every time zone it is 4:50 p.m.
Exactly.
And then we are also establishing a group which is called the Emergency Alert Group Circle. And if any one of you would like to be in that, it means that if there are any emergencies in the world, we will just call upon this group, and we work for these particular emergencies. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like the ask thing, but it is whatever day and whatever time.
Okay, thank you. Then now we have to get to you the we have to. I think it's been sent out by Joe. I think she sent it out.
Yes, she did send, but we will send them
the link for the webinar on Friday night. Okay, the link for the webinar is coming Friday night, and then you already have the two you have the broadcast link. You've been using it all the time, so that's good. Okay, I think that's it, friends. Now we wish you farewell. Have a good day. Let us continue to place emphasis upon understanding the Great Triangles Network and on using our own little Triangles Network in a practical manner. So many blessings from Tuya and from me, and we'll be talking to you later. This will be available to you on Makara. Okay, bye for now.